Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. You know that song, you know what that means. That means it is the weekend. And as always, it is time for the James Freel Show. I am your host, James Freel. As always, I am very happy to have you with me. This is a special episode. I'm not sure quite yet what graphic I have added, but, I normally like to have this out by Friday. Sometimes I'm late, sometimes it's out on Saturday, can't always get it out. As of this moment, there's still a chance it might be out by Friday. It's not like anyone's listening, not that it matters that much. But regardless, as always, I'm very happy to have you with me. So yes, this is the Thanksgiving extravaganza. And, you know what, I don't have anything prepared for the typical first segment of this show. But, I'm going to plow along. I'm going to make it work. And it's probably been about 2 months now since I've prepared an actual script. But, you know what, I'm going to take it as a win. The fact that, we're coming up on quite a while now that I have not given up on this. And I've said many times before, most people when they start a stupid internet project that would never go anywhere, they would have quit by now. But not me. I'm here to bring you far below mediocre entertainment on here on the James Freel Show. So, another bootleg week. I'm actually not in a situation where I would need the bootleg. But either way, I'm doing the bootleg just because, what time is it? Let's go ahead and say the date for today, the James Freel Show, for Friday, November 23rd, 2018. All right. That's something I'm bad about, is not saying the date of the show, and that's something that might be important. So News for the Uninformed is going to be based on whatever I can remember. So what's the top news story? I'm going to say... Oh, I should have a top news story. Why can't I remember any of that? We're gonna skip ahead. No, you can't skip ahead the top story. It's not the top story if you don't say our top story. Apparently stuff's going on with Trump and that Saudi Arabia thing. And that's kind of upsetting me because Saudi Arabia, in my opinion, is not doing some very bad stuff is being done in Saudi Arabia. Not very good stuff at all. Not good. But it seems like our commander-in-chief has kind of capitulated to them, and that really upsets me. I mean, maybe his rationale is something positive. I hope to think maybe it is, but at the same time, I can't imagine what it would be. In sports, tomorrow, the Ohio State University, who I am not a fan of, despite living in the state of Ohio, takes on the Michigan Wolverines, and it should be a good matchup. I'm going to call it now. I think that the Michigan Wolverines are going to handily beat the Ohio State Buckeyes. I'm predicting something like a 38-24 victory, or 38-20 victory. I'm predicting I think Michigan. It's not going to be a complete blowout or a shutout, but I think Michigan's going to handle Ohio State quite well. But that's always a good matchup you got every year. You win some, you lose some. We'll see how the call goes. If not this year, then what year? What year can Ohio State finally take care of business? And in pop culture, the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade made history this week by having the first ever homosexual kiss on television. Everyone is either mad or psyched about it. I'm indifferent to it. Check out how into equality I am, because I'm like, oh yeah, we should just treat them like everyone else. Just like someone, just, yeah. You know, James, you always talk about how you want this show to be not polarizing. You're doing a really good job right now. Yeah, great work there. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into the rambling section. Okay, so last weekend. What did I do last weekend? I know I watched a movie with my better half. But in reality, this is I told you last week, this episode is going to be the Thanksgiving extravaganza week. So I'm going to pretty much reserve all conversation topics towards Thanksgiving. And let me start with Thanksgiving Eve, because I've always said that Thanksgiving Eve is one of my favorite holidays. I love Thanksgiving Eve. I think it does. I think it's also the most underrated holiday, because Christmas Eve gets all hyped up, and Christmas Eve's Eve also gets hyped up. And I think that Thanksgiving Eve is an amazing holiday, and I got to meet up with a friend and his wife whom I hadn't seen in about 2 or 3 months, and I had a great time with him. But before that, so on Thanksgiving Eve, the Monday of this past week, today is Friday, on that Monday, someone from my work said, hey, we're going to have a potluck on Thanksgiving Eve's Eve, and you better bring stuff. And whenever you give someone a day's notice for preparing a potluck, you wind up with a lot of desserts, because everyone's like, well, I would have loved to have cooked for this, but let's just say that you can't exactly prepare an entree very well when you get one day's notice. I decided, you know what, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna prepare an entree, and there's this really simple recipe. You chop up some Yukon Gold potatoes, you put them in a gallon bag. You throw some olive oil in there. You throw some garlic powder. You throw some onion powder. You throw some chili powder and some paprika. And then you put on some good old-fashioned salt and pepper. You mix that bag up. You throw it in the oven for 45 minutes, flipping halfway through. And, you got yourself a tasty batch of potatoes, assuming you cooked it all the way through. The problem is that I had, I wanted it to be good, and I wanted it to be as fresh as possible. So I woke up at 4:10 in the morning. I clock in at 7 a.m. I woke up then so that I could cook all of it. And I don't regret my decision, but let's just say I was exhausted later that night. When you wake up that early to do something, it's going to affect you the rest of the day. So, so I made them, and in order to try to maintain their heat temperature and all that jazz, they, try to keep it somewhat insulated, which it was all in vain, because by the time we had the potluck at noon, and it didn't hold up. But I had it in a glass bowl, and I thought, hey, the outside potatoes, they're goners, but maybe the inside potatoes might stay warm with all the oil. Wrapped it in plastic wrap, wrapped it in 3 layers of aluminum foil, wrapped a towel around the pan, drove it in. It had to wait about 4 or 5 hours. It was still kind of lukewarm by the time I got it. But I will say this. Yeah, I was a little butthurt at first because not everyone was going for it, but I looked at what it had to compete with. Despite one day's notice, the office is pretty big, and there was a lot of competition. So it was competing with upside-down pizza. It was competing with crock pot Chinese ribs. It was competing with, someone just went out and bought Popeye's chicken, which is some good chicken if you ask me. It was competing with meatballs. It was competing with all this stuff. And it was about 75-80% gone by the end of it. And I'm like, you know what? There were a lot of dishes that weren't even halfway gone. So you know what? I'll take it. I think based on what it was up against, it did a pretty solid job. So that was my Thanksgiving Eve at work. Then Thanksgiving Eve at home. There's a friend of mine. I don't know what role he's going to play in my wedding. He's definitely a lock to be in the wedding. I got to hit the pause button really quick. I was talking about a friend who's going to be in the wedding. Hold on. All right, I'm back. So he's married. He has 2 kids. And I'm very friendly with his in-laws. His brother-in-laws crack me up. His wife's a very nice lady. Man, the further I get into this, the more I think it's going to be not till tomorrow before I wind up uploading this. That's not the kind of attitude to have for the Thanksgiving extravaganza. Basically, we had a good talk. My special lady friend, she had a good time. It was a good evening. It's definitely going to go down in my top, I'd say 5, not top 3, but probably my 4th or 5th best. Now that I think about it, it was probably in the top 3 best Thanksgiving Eves. Thanks, like I earlier said, Thanksgiving Eve is a great situation. Wow, I can't believe they're still using this commercial where they have Scrooge. It's for the local theater. Oh my gosh, this is hilarious. God help us, everyone. For A Christmas Carol, the local theater always puts on the show, and they have this commercial where Scrooge is running around Cincinnati and being a cheapie the cheapskate. Oh, funny stuff. Of course. I wonder if that guy's still playing as Scrooge now they've merged with another corporation, which is totally fine. I'm not here to criticize. But that was my Thanksgiving Eve. So, moving on to Thanksgiving Day. Moving on to then. I woke up around... I got up relatively early. And, Thanksgiving's one of my favorite holidays. And it is my favorite holiday. I love the Bob's Burgers. The song that Linda sings, thank you for being there. Thank you for loving me. And it is kind of upsetting that my home field for Thanksgiving has sort of become the secondary. If you're serving Thanksgiving dinner at 1 p.m., that means that you're taking second bananas to a dinner Thanksgiving for all the other families. But the food was delicious. Turkey was great. I'm not gonna lie, I had a decent amount of booze with it. That's one of the great parts about Thanksgiving. It's kind of socially acceptable to booze it up. Maybe it is, maybe it's not, but that was part of it. So this year, the people who were there, all my older sibling and my younger sibling were there. My significant other was there. Each of their significant others were there, so that makes 6 there. And then our parents were here, so that's another 2, so that was 8. And then my one grandmother was there. So this year was only 9, but it was a solid 9 amount of people. The Chicago Bears played the Detroit Lions. And it was a much closer game than I thought it would be. Then, my bandwagon team, the Dallas Cowboys, played the Washington Redskins, and they took care of business. What else can I ask from them? But to be taking care of business every day. Alright, this is the scene from Santa Claus is Coming to Town that kind of makes me think, because the warlock is there and he's all magical, but then he prays for a little bit of magic. That seems a little anti-Bible, but what also freaked me out when I was a kid when I watched this movie was when he decided, okay, what night am I going to go out to give out all these toys? And he was like, oh, well, I'm going to go out on Christmas. And that kind of messed me up because Santa Claus is so intertwined with Christmas, which makes it relatively difficult to separate, oh, Santa Claus is here with Christmas. You get what I'm saying. You get it. It's like, oh yeah, Christmas existed before Santa Claus. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. Hey Siri, what year was Christmas instituted as a national holiday in the United States of America?
I found something on the web about the year was Christmas instituted in the net. Check it out.
Alright, well that was not very helpful. Someone can look that up. Someone can tell me. Then there was that, and then the Saints and the Falcons were on, and that game was closer than it should have been. I barely watched a second of that because I'm like, it's the Saints and the Falcons. Why do I care about this game? And I got my family to play poker. I took some videos of it. None of you are going to get to see it, but James, if you're in the future and you want to look back, you can find it. What kind of upset me was I said, hey y'all, I'd like to take some home movies of Thanksgiving because I think it would be fun. Would anyone be uncomfortable if I took some home movies? Because if you are, I won't do it. And they were all enthusiastically like, oh, not at all. And I guess I feel like they still were. But at the same time, that's kind of on me because at the same time I realize, okay, people say one thing, they mean another. That's human nature. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Anyway, that was my Thanksgiving day. Food was great. Where did I end up? I had some more food for dinner. I'm gonna hit the pause button for a second. So I'd like to interject quickly and talk about a subject that really doesn't have much to do with Thanksgiving, but has to do with what I did this past week. So I'm in a class right now as I'm in my internship / co-op, whatever you want to call it. And basically, the class has 4 tests worth 75% of your grade. The lowest test score gets dropped. And I was very much looking forward to, I've done very well on the first 2. Oh, jeez, I may have to finish this tomorrow morning. This podcast may go up tomorrow. We're gonna wait and see. All right. Hold on. Pause. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. So, I just remembered something that I did want to talk about that I didn't speak about already, and that is last night. No, not last night. This was the Saturday after last week's episode. Another couple that me and my better half enjoy spending time with asked us if we wanted to go to this festival, and it was called Germania Festival, and it was like a Christmas get-together, or just like a lot of German food. I had this really nice, I got one of these big old plastic mugs. It was not cheap, but it came with the purchase of your beverage. And in order to buy it, you had to get these tokens. And a token was $5 each. And wow, would you look at that. So I got the Ohio State versus Michigan game on, and this game is looking, for a while, it looked like Ohio State was just dominating, and now it's 21-19 because of a fumble. They were just like bingo, bango, bongo. Anyway, so we're given these tokens. They're $5 each. You needed 1 for like a half a liter. If you wanted a full liter, you had to get the cup also, so it was 3. And I thought, you know what, I'll just get 2 half liters and throughout the end of the night. Yeah, it was Saturday. What do you want from me? And so I'm in line. I bought 2 because I didn't want to spend $15. But I'm in line, and this guy's like, hey, man, I'm about to leave. Do you want this token? Just by sheer luck. And so, yeah, I wound up getting one of them big plastic cups, and it was a good time. That beer was delicious. It had like a hint of cinnamon to it. And, it was a good evening. There was a guy dressed up as this, like, scary Christmas movie. He's, like, the opposite of Santa Claus. There was an accordion player there. There was, like, some good desserts there. They kick it right back to the same exact dude. The same dude who fumbled it from before. Man, what else do I remember about that? We ended up parking a really long way away and just walking on the street in order to get back. because we figured, yeah, there's no way there's available parking right now. Turns out there was, and we did that all for naught. But regardless, it was a good time. There was a donkey there that I really liked, like a little petting zoo that you have going on there. What else? So, I don't know if I mentioned this. I'm going to keep it real with you folks right now. I am doing this. When I just said I'm back right now, it's actually tomorrow morning. I don't think last night I spoke about how I had my last test of the semester. I'm in one class right now. And, maybe I did talk about this, but I'm just going to quickly say it again just in case. Oklahoma beating West Virginia last night. I'd like seeing that. I don't mind Oklahoma, and I really don't care for West Virginia. So that was nice. We got holding on the defense. So Ohio State, are they going to try to get one more score in before the end of this half? This is a good game. I'm really enjoying it. So we get 4 exams all semester, but he drops the lowest score. And I've done well enough now on the first 3, so I don't have to bother with that class really for the rest of the semester, which is good, because I'll take a B and see ya, because the class was a colossal waste of time. I think I've made that rant before. But, my Thanksgiving, I said all who was here. I took some home movies, and, I really, I wanted them to, because, you turn on and you see all these, heartwarming commercials about how Thanksgiving is nice and all that jazz, and I'm like, we really don't have any home videos, and I'm like, it's never too late to start. We could start it now. And so I did, and I just hope I didn't make anyone uncomfortable with it. I mean, I let everyone know beforehand, would anyone be uncomfortable with me taking home videos? And, I think I talked about this last night. Deep pass by Ohio State. Will he... Oh! It's going to be, I think, a pass interference call. And this is why I can't stand college's rule on pass interference. I think it needs to be at the spot of the foul. Because, if you go really far downfield, you can just, you knock him, and it's only 15 yards if it's a Hail Mary. So I think it needs to be from the spot of the foul. And that's my interesting rule on this. I got to watch the Cowboys play the Redskins on Thanksgiving. Before that, I think I'm repeating myself, and this is the problem. But I'm not just going to start over. I've decided, I'm going to be a little lazy. I had a great time at Thanksgiving Eve with my friend who plays the banjo. He and his wife and his kid. It's a great time. Great time. I'm just trying to put down all the details. This really is an episode more so for me than it is for anyone who might listen to it, because I don't have any fans. I also convinced 3 people, my mother, sister, and her dude, to play poker, and not gonna lie, I did win. It was a good time. Yeah, it's hard to make these things entertaining. Michigan State versus Rutgers today. Did Ohio State play Michigan State this year? I don't think they did. I'm not sure how all that works, what the rotation is for who plays who when. And they probably did. I am not an Ohio State fan. I grew up as one. Oh, they are very close to getting another touchdown and redeeming the point swing. I really thought they were just going to knee it. They decided to go for it. They're looking good. They really are. But overall, I'd say it was overall a really good Thanksgiving. I will say yesterday, I wanted to go and do those therapeutic drives that I enjoy. But it did not work out well, because I'm like, okay, I'm going to turn this way this time and go in this direction. And I wound up driving in a very big shopping area, and did not work out well for me. Delay of game. Could it be that the Ohio State Buckeyes do not cap how many timeouts do they have? They got 2. And it was a big shopping area that I wound up in, and I had a hard time getting out. And my brake's making this clicking noise. I don't know if anything's wrong with it. I really hope it's not. I've trained myself how to use an emergency brake system. So worst case scenario, you can always go with that, but sometimes it goes away, sometimes it doesn't. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Then I bought this Arnold Palmer. I'm probably gonna start working a little bit of overtime for these next few weeks, especially if this will be my last co-op. I want to start making as much as possible, and I've got enough saved away to be paying for all of my schooling, all my semesters. They will be covered, and I have my job, my part-time job that I work at the library, which will be enough to give me, money for gas and stuff. But, I really hope I can get a third one in. I hope they're still looking for people to do it. All right, their first and goal from the 3. He's going to throw it. Are they going to get in? Nope. Out of bounds. Second and goal, number 5. I don't know who any of these players are. I grew up as an Ohio State fan, but then I went to UC, and it's like, all right, you got to pick one or the other. No double dipping. I mean, and like I said, I went through a phase where I then hated Ohio State. And now I'm just sort of like, college football really isn't my thing. I'm a much bigger fan of professional. I will say last night, when I watched The Grinch. It was on NBC. And then I went over to the CW, and they were playing are they going to get in the end zone? Nope. Are you going to call the timeout? Yep. They gotta. If I were you, Ohio State, I would do a quick slant pass into the end zone and just see what would happen. You got 7 seconds. Just do the quick slant and see if you can get in. Now I sound like I'm rooting for them. I am rooting for a close game, and I think Michigan is going to come back in the second half with some serious adjustments made. And so, I don't think it's the smartest thing to let them get this close. They're all huddled up. What are they going to do? I think the best game will be produced by Ohio State getting a touchdown here, because that'll give Michigan a chance to make this game turn into a thriller. Oh, jeez. But yeah, I don't know if I mentioned it. I turned over to the CW, and the old cartoon that I remember, Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer, was on, and I love that movie. It was one of my favorites as a kid. I rewatched it, and I remembered all these little liners that were compartmentalized in the back of my head at one point. And all right, oh, I don't think he got it. Did he get it? Incomplete pass. Was so close. Well, are they gonna discuss it? I'm gonna hit the pause button. All right, it was an incomplete pass. It was a heck of an effort, though. They kicked the field goal. Excuse me. Oh shoot, I gotta edit that out. I coughed really loud so I can see where the edit needs to take place. Okay, yeah, I realized this was a pretty lousy episode. It was more of a memory one for me to listen to, not so much for anyone who listens to this show. So I think I'm still gonna put the turkey thing on it, just because so I can distinguish where that was and what I was up to. Overtime, that's what's going on with work. Am I going to be lazy and still put up the 30-minute time slot despite only having about, 26 minutes of talking? We're going to do a short week this week. It's still going to go up with a 30-minute timestamp, and the song will still go. So, thank you for listening. If you did, actually, please don't listen to this one. This one was pretty bad. Will this be the beginning of the end of the James Freel Show? No, it will not. I will see you all, or you will hear from me next week. Take care. Talk to you later. Bye.
With the